Sunday evening, gym done, Netflix on, favorite series playing, and you feel absolutely nothing, not tired, not sad, just hollow. Here's what everyone assumes. They think you're lazy, they think you just hate your job, they think a better attitude would fix it. They're wrong. What you're feeling has a name. Occupational psychologists call it anticipatory work dread. And here's the part nobody expects. The people who feel it hardest are rarely the weakest ones. More often, they're wired differently, and that difference cuts both ways. And here's what makes it complicated. The same feeling means something completely different depending on who's experiencing it. For some, it's a strength. For others, it's a warning. And most people never find out which one applies to them. Today, we decode 7 traits behind anticipatory work dread. Some will validate you, some will make you uncomfortable. And trait 6, let's just say most people don't see it coming.
Anticipatory work dread is not a mood. It is a psychological response. And like every response, it has a root cause. The 7 traits we're about to cover are not random. Each one points to something specific happening underneath. Most people spend years not knowing. You won't have to. Before we get into this, not all Monday dread is psychological complexity. Sometimes the job is just bad. If that's you, no trait explains it better than that. Most people grumble about Monday and then get on with it. You can't, because you're not built like that. You want to deliver 101% from the word go, and your brain knows that on Sunday evening, it isn't there yet. All weekend it was running free. No structure, no performance, no demands. And now it has to snap back, fully, immediately. That gap between where your mind is on Sunday and where your standards demand it to be on Monday, that's your dread. Psychologists call it person-environment misfit. But the real conflict isn't with your job, it's with your own bar. That's not a weakness. That's the price of high standards. You finished work on Friday, but did you actually stop? Because for people like you, the laptop closes, but the mind doesn't. You're at dinner mentally solving a work problem. You're at the gym and the background noise of work is still running quietly underneath. This is the paradox of the high performer. The same drive that makes you exceptional at work makes you incapable of genuinely resting from it. And by Sunday evening, you haven't had a real break in weeks, maybe months. You've had time off, but not recovery. The Maslach Burnout Inventory, one of the most cited tools in occupational psychology, identifies this pattern as emotional exhaustion. The fix starts on Friday, not Monday. Practice shutting down completely when the week ends. No half-working weekends, no mental rehearsals for next week. If you find that genuinely difficult, drop a comment below. We'll bring you a dedicated video on how to master the complete shutdown. Because until you fix the recovery, you'll never fix the dread. Have you noticed that when you walk into a room, you pick up on things others completely miss? The expression on a colleague's face the moment you enter. The slightly cold handshake from a cross-functional head. You clocked all of it. Nobody else did. That's because you are wired for social sensitivity, one of the key building blocks of emotional intelligence. But it comes at a cost. You don't just absorb the good energy in a workplace. You absorb all of it. The politics, the undercurrents, the unspoken tensions. By Friday, you're not just work tired. You're socially depleted. Monday dread, for you, is the anticipation of that depletion starting all over again. Most people leave work at the office. You carry it in your chest, and that distinction is everything. When Monday arrives, you're not just returning to a job. You're stepping back into the arena where your value as a person gets decided, where you have to prove yourself. Again, from zero, every single week. Psychologists call this contingent self-esteem, when your sense of worth rises and falls with your performance, and it creates a very specific kind of Sunday dread. Not fear of the workload, fear of the verdict. Start building an identity outside of what you deliver, deliberately, before something forces you to. Before we move on, how many of these have you recognized in yourself? 1 is interesting, 2 is a pattern, 3 or more, this video was made for you. For you, Mondays mean re-entering a maze of thoughts direction, and endless approvals. The weekend felt free because it was. No check-ins, no explaining your decisions to someone who understands the work less than you do. Just you, operating on your own terms. Self-determination theory, one of the most robust frameworks in motivation psychology, identifies autonomy as a core human need. Block it consistently, and you don't just get frustrated, you get drained. The dread you feel isn't about effort, it's about control, or more accurately, the loss of it. That tension doesn't resolve itself. It either gets addressed or it gets louder every Sunday. Here's the one nobody sees coming. Well, you complain about the pressure, the deadlines, the chaos, and you mean it. But take it all away and something uncomfortable happens. You feel lost, restless, almost bored. That's not a coincidence. That's neuroscience. Chronic workplace stress triggers consistent cortisol and adrenaline release. Over time, your brain stops treating that cocktail as a threat. It starts treating it as normal, as the only state where you feel truly alive. So when the weekend arrives and the stress disappears, your brain doesn't relax. It just doesn't know what to do with the quiet. The dread isn't fear of Monday. It's your brain craving the only environment it knows. The pay is fine, maybe even good. But Sunday evening arrives and the money doesn't matter, because what you're dreading isn't the effort. It's another week of work that doesn't mean anything. Some people can disconnect purpose from profession. Clock in, deliver, clock out, collect. No internal conflict. You cannot. Viktor Frankl, one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century, spent his career documenting that the human need for meaning is not a luxury. It is a necessity. And when work doesn't provide it, no salary compensates. The Monday dread of a purpose-driven person isn't laziness. It's a compass, and it's pointing away from something for a reason. Monday dread is not a character flaw. It is information. The question is whether you act on it or spend the next 10 years pushing through Sunday nights waiting for it to disappear on its own. It won't. You now have 7 possible answers for what yours is telling you. One of them is yours, and now that you've seen it, you can't unsee it. If this video gave you something to think about, drop it in the comments. And if you want to go deeper, the next video is on the psychology of people who quietly do all the work and never get credit for it. See you there.